Welcome back to the part 2 of our Zoom meeting for week 8. We're continuing with chapter 9, which focuses on language. Language is the systematic arrangement of arbitrary symbols that has general meaning. Symbols meaning numerals and alphabet letters. Language is representational of experiences and events through abstract symbols and words. So if you've ever heard the term rebus pictures, this is a product that we use very often with young children, actually under the age of 3rd grade and under. And it provides a visual. Well, let's use the example of a ball and also the word. So the language or the arbitrary symbols, B-A-L-L. So providing this symbol in the form of letters, as well as the image of a ball, provides the children an understanding and allows them to begin to understand letter sounds, ball, and allows educators to point those things out to young children. It also provides a way for children to be independent. So think about a toddler block area. You would have rebus pictures that mimic the different shapes of the blocks, but also have the language underneath. So the rectangular block and the word rectangle. Language also is a social interaction, and we know that those are crucial to language development. Fast mapping is a process in which a young child uses context clues to make a quick and reasonable accurate guess about the meaning of an unfamiliar word. So in this case, the example is a young child quickly learns a new animal name because the brain already has mapped and knows the familiar animal names. Dog is an easy one. If you already know cat, then you're making the assumption of fur, forelegs, and tail. So in place of what the child is looking at, dog, but a child is most familiar with cat, they may interchange those terms. Okay? This aligns with assimilation and accommodation, which we have talked about before. Language allows children to do what? In this question and in this context, think about how language supports the other developmental domains: cognitive, social emotional, gross motor, and fine motor. Language development depends on early neural connections, synapses, which you've read about previously. These connections are stimulated through responsive reactions with others, not just responsive, but also reciprocal and respectful. An infant may be physically capable of producing sound, but not without nurturing interactions. Language will be delayed. Right? So this, again, going back to the 3 R's. Are you getting down to the child's level? Are you looking at them in the eye? Are you being attentive when you're having an exchange with them? An opposite example would be reading a book to a group of young children, but looking out the window or looking at your coworker, right? So you want to stay actively participating with the children that you're engaged with for the purpose of language modeling. How do we foster language development? So with this question, be able to respond with at least 3 different ways. And also, as you're thinking about these responses, consider how people, the environment, and the materials, what materials are available to support language development for young children. It's important that you understand that literacy is the ability to listen and speak, and eventually to read and write. Again, literacy is the ability to listen and speak, listen being receptive, speaking being expressive, and those skill sets eventually move into reading and writing. Children develop an awareness of oral and written language, and in an interrelated way. So again, when we talk about cross-curriculum, we talk about the different areas of development. How are we integrating that throughout our curriculum, both oral and written language? The ongoing process of becoming literate is called emerging literacy, and it starts at birth. Some research tells us that even in utero, the children can hear us. We know that factually, but also that reading to an unborn child can be helpful. So think about how adults support literacy development, again, considering how people, the environments, and materials can support this type of development. With every chapter, you have focus questions at the beginning, and just a reminder that the chapter summary and key terms at the end are also helpful to review. Moving on to your final chapter. This is your virtual lab school chapter focusing on communication. The objectives for the VLS chapters are always at the top, or consider this beginning of the chapter reading. Supporting communication for infants and toddlers. For this, please take time to read the handout More Than Baby Talk. It outlines the 10 principles that support language and communication skills of infants and toddlers. And after you've read that article within the chapter reading, review the table that highlights the practices that are presented and how they're defined. Finally, there's a video embedded within this VLS chapter. It's entitled Experiences Communication Book Reading. Take a few notes and come up with at least 2 examples of how infant and toddler teachers foster communication and language development through book reading experiences. Consider how the examples that you note also relate back to other articles and other chapter reading. Again, as you conclude all of your reading and viewing, if you have any questions, it's helpful to connect with a classmate or your course instructor. Next week is week 9, and students will be reviewing Module 5, Social Emotional Development. Please make sure that you're aware of your responsibilities as far as read, watch, and complete, which are your assessments. And know that your exam 2 opens on Sunday, the 25th. On Tuesday, the 27th, we will have another Zoom meeting at our regularly scheduled 1 o'clock time. And we will have an extended discussion about your language discussion board, and also some review and reminders about lesson plans. So due next Tuesday, the 27th, you have your language lesson plan revisions, if necessary, as well as your language lesson plan implementation video. Your written space design midterm, which is a team submission, is also due on Tuesday, the 27th. And you have 2 +1 opportunities the week of week 9. The first is on Tuesday, that's the Module 5 review. The second on Thursday is your Goodness of Fit Part 2. Remembering that the +1 opportunities are open-ended, but it's suggested that you're completing them prior to the exam that they would be a part of. On Thursday, October 29th, your second exam is due by the beginning of your class time, or the set due dates, which is 1 o'clock. Exam 2 includes modules 1, 3, and 4. You also have your language lesson plan self-eval and the CDC social lesson plan review and evaluation. So week 9 has a lot to do. Again, I think it's helpful to do an overview of this and have an understanding of how you'll manage your time with your reading and watching, as well as your assessment requirements. I hope this has been a helpful overview. Remember, there is a part 1 and a part 2 for this week 8 Zoom meeting video. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out, email, phone, or we can set up a Zoom meeting. Take care, everybody.